Do you believe in the unseen? Welcome, brave souls, to the haunting reels.
The van screeched to a halt on the gravel road leading up to Widow's Peak Asylum. A decaying sign, half swallowed by ivy and time, creaked ominously in the wind. Widow's Peak Asylum, it read, the final hanging by a rusted nail like it too had given up on scaring anyone. Inside the van, four friends stared at the foreboding structure through the windshield. It loomed against the night sky like a haunted cake left out in the rain, sagging, moldy, and likely full of bad decisions. "Guys," said Zoe, already clutching her pepper spray like it would work on the undead, "we're seriously doing this? Like actually breaking into an abandoned asylum?" Lex, wearing a black hoodie with ghosts or people too in glow-in-the-dark letters, grinned like a kid on Halloween. "Zoe, this place is legendary. Closed down in 1983 because of ghosts that couldn't frighten a cat. Come on, who wouldn't want to see that?" Rico leaned forward from the back seat, juggling two GoPros and a rubber chicken. "They say the spirits here feed on fear, but nobody's ever been scared enough to die. So we're basically dealing with ghost interns." Dev rolled his eyes so hard they nearly hit the roof. "Right, and Bigfoot does my taxes. It's an abandoned building. Probably rats, raccoons, and a lot of mold that gets high off its own spores." Lex ignored him, already filming. "Welcome back to Lexplorers of the Unknown. Tonight we risk our lives, lungs, and possibly bowel control to investigate the legendary Widow's Peak Asylum. Will we encounter real ghosts or just the ghosts of 1980s interior design? Stay tuned." Zoe muttered, "I hope those ghosts like screaming." They grabbed their gear, cameras, EMF readers, a Ouija board Rico bought from a flea market named Ouija for Cheape, and a flashlight duct taped to a selfie stick. Armed with nothing but overconfidence and YouTube dreams, they headed toward the towering gates. The iron doors groaned open like a horror movie cliche being dragged against its will. Inside the asylum was a chaos of crumbling tiles, spray-painted walls, and echoes that didn't always match the sounds. The air smelled like dust, mildew, and regret. Lex spun in a circle, eyes gleaming. "Look at this! Prime haunted real estate. This is where they used to do hydrotherapy, back when drowning your feelings was literal." Rico popped out from behind a cracked mirror, making Zoe shriek and drop her phone. "Boo! Ghost intern at your service. Do you need assistance dying of mild anxiety?" Dev pointed at a door swinging slowly open. "That's the wind. And that," he gestured at a scratching noise from a vent, "is definitely a raccoon, or a raccoon ghost, if that helps you sleep at night." They found the main lobby, which looked like someone had tried to summon Satan with IKEA furniture. A receptionist's desk was still there, now covered in cobwebs and what might have been pigeon poop or powdered despair. Lex set down their equipment. "Okay, camera one goes here, two facing the hallway. Rico, EMF reader on the second floor. Zoe, you're with me in the basement. Dev, just don't break anything skeptical." "Copy that, Commander Ouija," Dev said, kicking a dusty file labeled Patient 243, unresponsive to fear therapy. "These guys used to scare patients with people in bed sheets. I'd be more afraid of the sheets catching on fire." As night fell deeper and their setup completed, they gathered for a quick on-camera huddle. Lex took center frame, flashlight under his chin. Night vision is active. EMF is reading baseline. Temperatures dropping slightly, could be ghosts, could be poor insulation. Either way, we're entering phase 1. Provocation. Rico leaned into the mic. "Provoking ghosts, great idea. It's not like they've been bored and unemployed for 40 years or anything." Zoe already looked like she wanted to go home and cry into a weighted blanket. Dev grabbed the Ouija board and sighed. All right, spirits, come out, wherever you aren't. They split into teams. Lex and Zoe took the basement, a series of echoing hallways lined with rusted beds and therapy equipment that looked like it doubled as medieval torture devices. Lex held the camera steady as he whispered, "This is where patients were treated for unreasonable fear responses. In other words, they were locked in dark rooms until they stopped screaming or passed out." Zoe jumped as a rusty wheelchair moved slightly. "Was that the wind or—" "I hope it was a ghost," Lex said. "Otherwise, that chair is making its own life decisions." Upstairs, Dev and Rico roamed the long, graffiti-covered corridors. Dev pointed to a message scrawled in red, "Laugh and die." Rico snorted. "That's either a threat or a review of my stand-up set." Dev picked up the EMF reader. It beeped once. Rico gasped dramatically. "Oh my God, it's happening!" The reader stopped. "False alarm," Dev deadpanned. "Probably just a nearby circuit, or your phone, or the Earth's magnetic field, or a ghost with commitment issues." Suddenly, a metal bedpan clattered from one of the rooms. Dev froze. Okay, that wasn't magnetic fields. They peered in and found a pigeon sitting atop a skull prop someone had clearly left as a joke. The bird blinked slowly, like it was considering a lawsuit. Back in the basement, Zoe found an old patient file. "Lex, this one says the patient died of laughter. Literally. Cardiac arrest during a clown therapy session?" Lex looked up from an EMF spike. "See? This place is haunted by ghosts who were never scary, just aggressively unfunny. No wonder they shut the place down." Suddenly, a voice echoed faintly. "Knock, knock." Zoe dropped the file. "Who said that?" They looked around, flashlights trembling. "Knock, knock." It came again from the air vent. Lex stepped closer. "Who's there?" Silence. Then from the vent, boo. Lex burst out laughing. "Oh my God, that ghost just told the worst knock-knock joke in history." They heard a groan from the walls, followed by what sounded like a kazoo playing the Jaws theme. Upstairs, Rico's GoPro captured a flickering light forming a vague shape. A transparent nurse holding a stethoscope. Upside down. "Are you here to help or perform a confusing magic trick?" Rico asked, genuinely amused. The ghost dropped the stethoscope, which passed through the floor, then it face-palmed. "Dude," Dev said, filming it, "this place is a paranormal sitcom." Back in the main hall, they regrouped. Everyone looked mildly freaked, but more confused than anything. Lex played back footage of the nurse. She tried to check Rico's pulse with the wrong end. Zoe whispered, "Is that kazoo music still playing?" Suddenly, a chair floated 2 inches off the ground, then dropped like it lost confidence. Dev muttered, "That ghost just rage quit haunting." Rico stared into the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have found the world's worst ghosts, and they are hilarious." Lex raised a toast with a thermos of Red Bull. To ghost interns trying their best, failing gloriously. Thunder cracked outside, dramatically on cue. But instead of reacting in fear, the friends all applauded. "Nice touch, spirits," Rico shouted. "You're learning." And somewhere deep within the haunted asylum, a ghost sighed deeply and muttered, "Tough crowd." The rusted gates of Widow's Peak Asylum groaned open like a coffin lid, setting the mood as the 4 friends slipped inside. Flashlights flickering and cameras rolling. Their breath puffed in the cold night air as they stepped onto the cracked tile floor, which echoed dramatically with each step more from Rico stomping on purpose than anything else. "All right, Ghost Squad," Lex whispered with theatrical seriousness, his EMF detector in one hand and a plastic crucifix in the other. "The legends say no one makes it past midnight inside without screaming their soul out. So if you feel your soul leaving, scream real loud for the views." "I still think this is all one big load of TikTok nonsense," Dev muttered, filming himself. "But hey, free clout. Guys, Zoe whimpered, clutching a plush, ghost-shaped stress toy she had named Boo Boo. I don't like this place. It smells like abandoned feet. The air was thick with mildew, and graffiti lined the cracked plaster walls. "Get out!" was scrawled in red paint near the old reception desk. Rico snorted. "Wow, real original. I bet the ghost who wrote that was like, ooh, this'll get him." They ventured deeper into the bowels of the asylum, cameras capturing every creaking pipe and swaying light fixture. That's when they heard it, a heavy thump from the hallway to their left. All four froze. Lex raised a hand. "Did you hear that?" "Obviously," Deb deadpanned. "That's how ears work." A low groan echoed around them. Then, screamed Jabbershwan, the sneezing shadow. A long, spindly shadow moved quickly across the hall in front of them. Then it stopped, hunched, and lunged toward them from the darkness. All four screamed and scattered behind a broken wheelchair until the figure halted mid-lunge, blinked twice, and let out a comically loud sneeze. "Achoo!" Lex peeked out. Was that a ghost with allergies? The shadowy figure sniffled and wiped his transparent nose on his semi-material sleeve. "Haunted dust. Gets me every time. You think centuries of cobwebs don't come with side effects?" Rico burst out laughing. "Bro, you're a ghost with hay fever." The ghost scowled. "Don't judge. You try being stuck in an asbestos-filled attic since 1932. Zoe giggled nervously. "Do you need a ghost inhaler, or—" The ghost vanished in a sneeze-induced poof, leaving behind only the faint smell of menthol. "Worst poltergeist ever," Deb mumbled, shaking his head. "Hey, still scarier than my ex," Lex added. They continued exploring until they reached the old infirmary. The beds were overturned and surgical tools lay scattered across the floor like someone lost a game of haunted Jenga. Suddenly the lights flickered. A cold draft swept through the room. Then she appeared, floating 6 inches off the ground. A ghostly nurse in a tattered uniform emerged from the shadows. Her eyes glowed green and her arms stretched out toward Zoe, who shrieked and ducked behind a rusted IV pole. "You will feel eternal pain," the nurse moaned, voice echoing off the blood-stained walls. Everyone backed up until Lex squinted and pointed. Is your IV bag full of glitter?" The ghost nurse glanced at it. The bag sparkled with rainbow shimmer. She sighed dramatically. "Damn it. Sheila the glitter ghost switched my prop again. I call it Ecto Bling." Rico tilted his head. "So? You're not here to harvest our souls?" "Oh, heavens no. I run the haunted healthcare workshop on Thursdays. We're trying to make torment more visually appealing." With a flick of her wrist, glitter exploded from her ghostly IV line, coating Dev in sparkly chaos. "Great," he muttered, spitting shimmer. "Now I look like a disco ball's funeral." The nurse snapped a selfie with the group before dematerializing in a puff of lavender-scented fog. Zoe whimpered. "We're going to die. Death by jazz hands." Scream number 3, the demon voice that wants feedback. By now, the group had mostly stopped trying to act scared, which began to upset the buildings more. Dedicated phantoms. They entered the electroshock therapy room, expecting cracked chairs and horror movie screams, but instead found walls covered in motivational posters from the 1980s. "You shock me all night long" was printed next to a cartoon lightning bolt. As Dev laughed, the room grew darker. A deep, guttural voice erupted from the walls. "Leave while you still can." Everyone froze. Okay, finally something scary," Rico whispered, eyes wide. The voice came again, deeper this time. "Your mortal flesh will melt beneath the stars of the old ones." Then, "Wait, hold on. That didn't sound right. Let me do it again." A puff of smoke erupted from a nearby vent. A demonic-looking ghost with glowing red eyes and curling horns stepped out, clutching a notepad. "Okay, real talk," it growled. "Did that delivery land? I'm working on my pacing. Too slow? Too many syllables?" Lex blinked. "Are you asking for acting notes?" The demon sighed. "I joined the Phantom Thespian Society. We're trying to bring more dramatic flair to our hauntings." "You sounded like Satan doing a Shakespeare monologue," Dev muttered. "Good," the demon nodded. "That's exactly the vibe I'm aiming for. Do you think it needs more fire? Like maybe actual fire next time?" Rico handed him a phone. "Bro, do a TikTok. I swear you'll blow up." "Really, OMG?" The demon shimmered with delight, then vanished in a puff of ego. The ghosts get offended. Back in the hallway, the four friends were doubled over, laughing so hard they could barely breathe. Zoe was wiping tears from her eyes. A glitter nurse? A ghost with allergies? A demon in community theater? I haven't laughed this hard since Dev tried to do the cinnamon challenge and threw up on a Roomba, Rico gasped. "I'm telling you," Lex said between wheezes, "these ghosts are trying so hard and just failing so hard." Unfortunately, the ghost could hear them. The walls trembled as a new voice echoed from the rafters. "You mock our suffering?" The air grew colder. Dust swirled. Portraits on the walls wept ectoplasmic tears. "You come into our eternal prison of pain and laugh at our artistic expression?" Suddenly, every light burst into flames, but the flames spelled rude in the air. Lex looked around. Guys? I think we offended the afterlife." A dozen ghosts appeared in a circle, each one more ridiculous than the last. One wore bunny slippers, another had a kazoo stuck in their ectoplasm. One just floated holding a sign that said, "I died awkwardly." "We were trying to scare you," the ghost with the kazoo wailed, honking sorrowfully. "We practiced our monologues and everything." "I took a mime class for this haunting," shouted another. Zoe clutched Boo Boo. "Oh no, they're not just ghosts. They're theater kids." Rico paled. "Worse, they're failed theater kids." Lex stepped forward, trying to play peacemaker. "Look, your stuff was scary, just in a different way." "Like emotionally," Dev offered. One ghost sniffled. "Really?" Lex nodded. "Absolutely. I mean, I'll have nightmares about that glitter bag. That's trauma." The ghosts began to cheer up. The glitter nurse returned with cupcakes. They tasted like fog. The demon returned in a beret and offered to direct their next video. Zoe looked around and said what they were all thinking. "This is the dumbest haunted house I've ever seen." And it was, but it was also going viral. Little did they know back in the darkness. Something actually scary had just awakened, and it did not like TikTok. The clock in the main hall struck midnight, or rather it groaned, wheezed, and then fell off the wall. A loud bang echoed through the dilapidated halls of Widow's Peak Asylum, followed by the faint sound of someone whispering, "Well, that's ominous." Somewhere in the basement, behind a cracked wall, and beneath decades of peeling wallpaper, a secret meeting was underway. The Haunting Committee meeting. Around a cobweb-coated table sat a collection of translucent, glum-looking spirits. Their leader, Bartholomew Barty Grimshaw, once a stage actor with grand Shakespearean aspirations, pounded a ghostly gavel, actually an old bedpost, and called the meeting to order. "We are officially the least terrifying haunt in the Tri-County area," Barty announced, pushing his powdered wig slightly askew. "We were mocked, ladies and ghouls. Mocked. One of them said I looked like a balloon with a wig," moaned Ethel, the former nurse ghost, holding up her ectoplasmic form, which did admittedly resemble an overinflated jellyfish in scrubs. "Lex recorded me moaning down the hallway and added techno beats to it," added Edgar, the janitor ghost, sullenly. "It's trending under Hakusher Haunt Talk." "We used to inspire fear," Barty cried, dramatically placing a ghost hand on his non-beating heart. Now we're punchlines in a viral video. We still inspire fear, hissed Margaret, the crawling widow, crawling upside down on the ceiling. That Zoe girl screamed when she saw me crawl out of the vent. She screamed because she thought you were a bat with arthritis, Ethel corrected. Margaret scowled and disappeared with a poof of dusty smoke. Barty cleared his throat. Ladies inspectors, it's time to up our game. No more floating plates, no more flickering lights. It's time for a jump scare extravaganza. The final scare occurred. Back on the first floor, the four friends Lex, Rico, Zoe, and Dev were arguing about the best place to set up the final boss ghost scene for their YouTube challenge. I say we go back to the surgery room, said Lex. That creepy saw table, viral gold. Let's go to the bathroom, Rico smirked. Zoe screamed for 10 minutes when the toilet flushed by itself. It wasn't flushing by itself, Zoe snapped. It was gurgling, like it was possessed. Or just badly plumbed, Dev muttered, chewing on a granola bar. As the group bickered, the air suddenly went still. Lights flickered, then silence. Lex raised his camera. Okay, we're live in 3, 2. Suddenly, shit went to bang. A ghost hurled itself out of a locker with a blood-curdling wail. Ah! Lex screamed. Chew! The ghost sneezed mid-scare, scattering glittering ectoplasm everywhere. Sorry, still got hay fever from 1943. Before anyone could react, another ghost flew down the hallway dragging chains. Bow! He tripped over his own ectoplasmic feet and slammed into a wall, where his chains tangled with a ceiling fan and lifted him slowly into the air like a haunted piñata. From the vents, Margaret the crawling widow emerged again with her signature hiss. This time, her legs got stuck. I'm wedged, she screeched. Pivot, pivot, someone whispered from inside the wall. Then crack, the lights flickered one final time and died. Total darkness. What the hell, Dev muttered. A soft click sounded. Emergency backup lights turned on, bathing the asylum in a dim red glow. And there they were. The ghosts, dozens of them, each stuck in ridiculous scare poses. One holding a fake severed head like Hamlet, another lunging forward with arms outstretched like Frankenstein's less committed cousin. One simply hovered with jazz hands midair, trying to look menacing. Rico slowly turned to Lex, camera still rolling. Nah, you all need a better agent. The group burst into laughter. Hey, Ethel tried to say, her spooky nurse's hat sliding off. No, I've seen better hauntings in a spirit Halloween store, Lex cackled. Zoe leaned on a wall to keep from falling over. I can't breathe, look at that one. He's doing Thriller. I was going for Nosferatu, the ghost hissed, clearly offended. It was then that Bartholomew Grimshaw, once hailed as the lesser Olivier of the silent stage, floated forward. His eyes were heavy with regret, his voice strained. Enough! The room fell quiet. He sighed, dropping his ghostly mask with a melodramatic flair. We surrender. We're terrible at this. The other ghosts murmured in agreement. Barty wiped an invisible tear from his translucent cheek. I never made it past the chorus line in Phantom of the Opera. Edgar flunked his janitorial haunting exam 3 times. Margaret's allergic to dust. Ethel died trying to mix up ghost fog and mothballs. I told you not to use the industrial strength vaporizer, Ethel hissed. We tried our best, Barty said. But perhaps our haunting days are behind us. The 4 friends looked at each other. Rico clapped slowly. Bravo, seriously, A for effort. Dev added, y'all should do kids' parties. This is hilarious. Lex, still holding the camera, whispered, oh my God, this is going to break the algorithm. Zoe, meanwhile, stepped forward. Wait, so you're not mad we're making fun of you? Barty sighed. Child, we've been dead for decades. The last time someone screamed at me, it was because I forgot my lines in Macbeth. We just wanted to be remembered. That tugged at something in Zoe's usually terrified heart. Well, she said, what if we help you go viral? Barty blinked. What does that mean? 1 week later, the YouTube video, We Got Haunted by the Worst Ghosts Ever, LMO, hit 10 million views. Clips of Barty giving a monologue while floating on a disco ball went viral. Margaret the Crawling Widow trended as Spidey Granny. Ethel had a recurring Q&A segment called Ask a Dead Nurse. The comments were full of adoration. I want these ghosts to adopt me. This is like Ghostbusters meets The Office. We give Barty his own show, and there, beneath the twinkling stars over the crumbling asylum, the spirits of Widow's Peak Asylum finally found peace, not through fear, but through laughter, views, and surprisingly decent merch sales. And as Rico high-fived Barty on the way out, he said, next time we're breaking into a haunted Denny's. The ghosts all waved goodbye, and Barty whispered, to haunt or not to haunt? That is the question. Then tripped over his cape again. Fade out.